So this is actually my first time having a chance to chat with you, which is cool. But what's interesting is I've known of you for a long time, even before I was, in hi-fi and doing what I do. Around 2004, 2005, I was surfing some forums, and it wasn't even hi-fi related. I think it was like a computer forum, and there's these guys like, you wouldn't believe what this guy is doing. He's putting tubes in these putting tubes in these DVD players, and it's like that's kind of how this all happens. So you're still modifying gear today?
Absolutely. We started in 2000 with the mods. The tube mods were probably the first few years of that, and it was the Sony, and then it was the Pioneers, and it's been Sony and it's been Oppo in recent years. That's really fantastic. But it's been Logitech Transporter, a number of products. The approach is the same. Putting a vacuum tube preamp circuit in place of a op amp circuit, which is inherently feedback driven and sounds bad. So that we've been doing since the beginning. The company shifted, as you know, into production products as well, but we've maintained the modifications throughout. Our first production product was about 13 years ago. It was my son's namesake, and so it's expanded since then. But the origin of it all was the modifications business.
Follow-up question: how has that influenced your designs? Modifications. Is it a situation where, kind of like you're saying, I saw what these guys did. I understand the roadmap. I think they could have done this differently. Is that kind of...
Yeah, well, I learned a lot from improving this gear. It's typically pretty budget gear, of course. The Pioneer DVD players, the Link DACs, the Sonys. And, power supply, analog circuitry, it's like, okay, I know what makes or breaks a circuit, and power supply is critical, of course. But I learned a lot from that then I applied to my own designs. And absolutely.
Perfect lead in. When you are designing something, preamp, power amp, is the final destination always the same? Meaning that, are you looking for a straight line? Do you find yourself going, straight line is neat, I know what that sounds like, I kind of want to manipulate this a little bit? Like what?
Well, for instance, measurements, that's like the framework. Okay, we're going to do X, and ideally we want, you talk about straight line, I'm being literal in terms of frequency response, but okay, we want a flat response, we want this, we want that, and that's kind of the framework, and once that's done, then I listen. And because measurements are great, and you want to make sure that things are generally where they should be.
Correct.
But really, it's more the listening more than anything else. And that overrules the measurements. There have been cases recently with a tube amp where one change did not measure as well, but sounded so much better. That I said, fine.
That's what we're gonna do.
Exactly.
That's cool. This is such a loaded question, it's ridiculous. Tubes or solid state?
Well, I'll try to make my answer to that brief. I like tubes in the circuit somewhere. For sure in the source and the preamp. We've done, as we're doing here, a hybrid system with solid state amps and tube preamps. Beautiful sound. Tubes by nature amplify voltage well. Solid state amplifies current well. So for big power, the most efficient way to do it is solid state. And it can sound very good, or it can sound not so good. I've been fortunate to work with Alan Kimmel and some other very bright people that have taught me a lot, shared a lot, and have huge contributions to the designs. There's so much. The KWA 150 is the Kimmel Wright amplifier, and there's Kimmel's design brilliance is all over that design. And he is a tube guy. Now I've kind of come full circle where we're doing, single-ended designs. I spent some time with Jack Eliano learning to wind transformers, learning from him last year. And heard a circuit that he was working with that kind of bucked the trend as far as the weak points of tubes, being soft, being overly euphonic, etc. And he has this technology that he shared with me and showed me how these things work, and it's exciting. It's been an exciting ride. So now we're doing some pretty exciting stuff there. So to come back full circle, tubes or solid state. If I had to pick one, I'd pick tubes.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
I would rather have an all-tube system than an all-solid-state system.
Okay.
Ideally, I'd like to use both.
Yeah.
But right now, I'm building an all-tube analog system for my own personal use.
Yeah.
And because it's just magical.
Yeah.
And I love it.
Yeah.
But it's got to be full range. And even in this case, it's going to be monitors with tube amps, and I'm probably going to have a solid-state powered subwoofer for the bottom octave, because they're going to be small monitors in the room, etc. So even there, I'm still going to have, some solid state.
In your designs and your experience in doing this for as long as you have, if we get down to the individual component, that resistor, whatever capacitor, does the quality of that actually matter? I mean, I don't suspect that Dan is shopping from the bargain bin at Parts Express, but does it matter?
It all matters. To what degree, and to what price you're building to, obviously. With cost no object designs, you can do anything.
Yeah.
You have to look at it and say, okay, this product is going to be at this price, and our goal is this. And so, we can't use, $10 resistors every step of the way and $50 capacitors every step of the way. But the short answer is yes, it all matters. And it just depends on what the design goal is. Circuit design is more significant than parts choice. A well-designed circuit with generic parts will sound better than a poorly designed circuit with the best parts.
That's a good way, yeah.
So it all matters, but the design has to be right.
Yeah.
So these days, what I try to do is get the circuit right, and I have a quality of parts that I like to use that are good. Some are boutique, some are good, and some in non-critical locations are generic.
Yeah.
But then once I get to that point, it's like, okay, now let's take it up further, and for my own personal set of amps, I'll do that. I'm sure. Experiment with wire and things, but it takes time, and I don't. I'd be lying if I told you I listened to every single resistor and every single capacitor in every circuit.
Right.
It's not realistic.
Yeah.
But I know, 17 years, I know what sounds good and what doesn't. Yeah. And I can generally say, yeah, it's going to be this, and that.
Yeah.
And start.
Last question for you. I've followed the Ryan guys, since they kind of got started, and instantly I connected with them. I think there's incredible value there.
You bet.
And a lot of the people that is my audience, they're either, the first timers, or they have a system and they're going, where do I go from here? And so for me, their lineup makes a lot of sense in that regard.
Absolutely.
Why did you pair up with the Ryan brothers? What is it about their sound that you're going, this works for me?
They just sound right, first of all. They just sound good. The price points are right on. The one that impressed me first and got my attention really was the 630.
Yeah.
A $5,000 floor standard, and that's $5,000. But at Exponent we had one of our big amps, our entry-level preamp at $3,000, and a PS Audio DAC and a server. It was a relatively simple system. Yeah. I say, this business is relative, but it was fantastic. Yeah. People come in, they said, $5,000 for the speakers? This sounds too good to be just that. Yeah. And I heard the $2,000 monitors, and they blew me away. And these are, these are statement pieces.
They're fantastic.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
I quickly wanted to, align myself with them, co-market with them, because we definitely have a shared attitude towards this. Yeah. And that's always been my thing, is at whatever price point we're at, 2, 3, 5, 10, or more, it should outperform that price point significantly. Yeah. Okay, so we have a $20,000 pair of amps, say. Well, if they're better than the $50,000 brand X, then we've done our job. Because this hobby is silly. You know, it can get silly.
It can. My brother, who's off camera here, this is his first show.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I didn't want to influence him as he, you know, sat down and listened to a lot of this stuff. And you're right. You know, it's like you have this perception or this idea of, you know, crazy speakers, and some of them are just unbelievable to look at. You know, and you sit down and you listen and you go, okay, well, that's neat. You know, but what's surprising and what's interesting, and it's been my discovery, is that you can't focus on just because it's more expensive that it's somehow, you know, going to, you know, connect you with the music. And it's like, you know, these Tempests, you know, it's like I sit down, I listen to them, and I'm like, man, they really did a great job here. I mean, I just walked out of a room with $100,000 speakers. I'm going, nah, this room feels a little bit more cozy, you know.
There's engineering and there's marketing. You know. Ryan is about engineering. You know, and they're good marketers as well. They build a beautiful product. You know, you can't build an ugly box that sounds good, right? But you can build a beautiful box, market it with millions of dollars, and sell a lot of it. And people will say, wow, that brand X $100,000 speaker, that's something else. It's okay. You know. But no, I absolutely agree, and that's what I respect them for. Is doing a really fantastic job of engineering a beautiful speaker, and you know, that's what this hobby should be about. It's about music. It's about enjoying the music.